Hi, this is Kirk, the bariatric carnivore. Are you a sugar addict? Well, odds are you probably are, because the average American is literally eating a half a pound of sugar every day. Most of it hidden in processed foods, and you're not even aware of it. Back in 1900, the average American ate 18 pounds of sugar a year. We are now over 90 pounds a year per person. And the costs are dramatic. 1 out of every $4 that we spend on healthcare is going to the treatment of type 2 diabetes and bad metabolic health. A lot of that can be laid at the feet at big sugar. No other ways of putting it. It's an expensive habit that is killing the United States and keeping you dependent on the medical system and all the other problems, and it's keeping you from getting good metabolic health. So overcoming a sugar addiction, is that a thing? Is sugar addictive? Well, they've done studies, when they do studies on rodents and they give them the opportunity, do you want cocaine or do you want sugar? And you may be thinking, well, they're rats. How do they know the difference? Well, rats have the same dopamine receptors that we have. So it's easy to check, their brains and see if they're being addicted to something. And it turns out that if you give the choice between those two, the rats are always going to grab the sugar first. Matter of fact, they did one study where they gave them a choice of sugar or cocaine, but in order to get the sugar, they had to endure an electric shock, and they still went for the sugar. That's a powerful driver. See, the dopamine receptors are very similar to the human brain, and they do brain scans of people that, on sugar versus people on cocaine versus people on heroin, and they're all lit up the same. That makes it a highly addictive substance. Now, the difference between a cocaine addiction or an alcohol addiction or a heroin addiction with a sugar addiction is, thankfully, the sugar addiction is almost like being addicted to gambling or a relationship. There's no physical withdrawals from it. In other words, when you try to withdraw suddenly from, if you're a real serious alcoholic or heroin addict, you got to do that under medical supervision, because you can have a heart attack. Because your body will be under such stress. And thankfully, when you're giving up a sugar addiction, it's more akin to giving up a nicotine addiction. It's a pain in the butt, but it's not going to kill you either. So you don't have to do it under medical supervision, which thankfully that makes it a little bit cheaper and easier, but it's still a pain in the butt. And there are people out there that will deny that sugar's addictive because of this difference. And they've produced studies. Well, they haven't produced studies that say that it's not addictive. If you look carefully at the examples of people that I've put up where they have said that sugar is not addictive, it was always expert opinion. And of all the forms of medical evidence, expert opinion is always the lowest. It is based on somebody's assumptions, not on actual studies. And the thing you got to realize about sugar is big sugar pays a lot of money. They buy the best science that they possibly can. They bought the Harvard School of Public Health. And if you think I'm overstating that, I want to bring you to the attention of an article in the Journal of the American Medical Association that tracked down. Somebody found the documents. They found the smoking guns that showed big sugar paid off the Department of Public Health at Harvard University, trying to blame dietary fat, for the problems that sugar was creating. And they had a lot of expert opinion coming out saying that sugar's fine. Give the kids lots of sugar. And people ignored sugar being added to food as they took away fat out of our diet. And we've been suffering through a major obesity crisis ever since. And that was the best science that money could buy. That's where we are. So how do you overcome a sugar addiction or craving? And I make the distinction because I think in an addiction, it is possible. Not everybody that smokes crack cocaine becomes an addict. Not everybody that drinks alcohol becomes an alcoholic. And not everybody that even does heroin or cocaine becomes an addict. It takes, I'm not 100% sure why somebody becomes addicted to something. But people can get addicted to gambling. People can get addicted to relationships. People can get addicted to sex. No ifs or buts about it. And usually what it boils down to is trauma. So there seems to be a distinction between a craving and an addiction. But nearly everybody that is going to withdraw from sugar and try to get it out of their diet is going to go through a craving period that they're going to have to deal with, and it's going to suck. And I feel your pain because I had to deal with the same thing. When I switched over and went low carb and then keto and then carnivore, I suffered through some cravings and withdrawals because I wasn't getting the dopamine fix. When I was, the way I did it when went keto is I started making those little dessert keto fat bombs and sweet little things. And basically I was trading one addiction for another. And that's a problem. You can't do that. I mean, if you want to get over sugar cravings, you're going to have to go cold turkey. It's the same way I had to quit smoking. Now, the difference between quitting smoking and trying to cure sugar addiction or sugar craving is that you got to eat. I didn't have to smoke. I could quit smoking and get all the tobacco out of my life, but I have to eat. So how do you overcome a sugar addiction? Or how do you overcome the sugar cravings for those 2 weeks? Because you're going to have to eat, but you can't eat processed food because sugar is in everything. So anything with an ingredient label on it is going to have sugar in it, and it's going to be hidden, and they may change the names. It may be a dextrose, monochrome, something, whatever they call it chemically, but basically it all boils down to being a sugar. And you got to be careful if you've been carbs during that sugar withdrawal. So what I strongly suggest you do is just go on a hamburger fast. I mean, the nice thing about hamburger is it's nutritionally complete, and this is what I'd suggest. Just for 2 weeks, eat all the hamburger you want with just salt, no cheese, no condiments, just hamburger. That way you're going to eat, and it's going to give you enough B vitamins and all that to help you with your dopamine receptors. And this is just a crutch to help you get over the finish line. And the cool thing about it is because it's got no carbs in it, you're not going to gain any weight on it. Matter of fact, you'll probably be healthier, and you'll probably drop your blood glucose and do a lot of other good things. But after about 2 weeks, the craving for sugar will dissipate, go away. And during this time, I also, if you are a caffeine addict, you can't drink even unsweetened soft drinks. What we're going to try to do is get you over your addiction to the sweet taste. So, and you're going to do it cold turkey. That's why I kind of suggest the hamburgers. But there's another reason why I suggest the hamburgers, is because you can always get a hamburger patty anywhere. If you're eating out, you can just order a hamburger patty. Again, stay away from the ketchup. That stuff is loaded with sugar. So just, salt and pepper, to taste, and that's it. If you're driving down the road and you become ravenously hungry and you're going through, your cravings and you can't handle it anymore, pull into McDonald's and order quarter pounder patties. Not with cheese, just quarter pounder patties, no condiments. And, the people in the keto community often refer to them as meat cookies. I mean, you'll just chomp on that. You'll be satisfied. You'll be getting food, and you'll be full. You won't feel deprived that way. And I also, I'll let you go with, black coffee. If you've been drinking sugary sodas, look, you don't want to go through caffeine withdrawal at the same time as you're going through the sugar withdrawal. Just pick one. Pick your poison. Pick the one that you want to get over. I'd strongly suggest you get rid of the sugar first. The caffeine is really not that bad of an addiction, but you got to do it unsweetened for about 2 weeks. So look, when you've been eating nothing but hamburger, water, and black coffee for 2 weeks, your sensation to sweet is going to go away. You're not going to have that craving anymore. I know this because, look, it takes about 2 weeks, for that gnawing craving to go away. After that, you may have to realize that you have an actual addiction. And again, addictions are different than the cravings. Most people, they'll go through that withdrawal and they get over the cravings and they're done. They don't have any more issues to deal with. But if you're one of those people that at the end of it is a strong psychological pull, that you feel like you've lost a best friend type of feeling, and that your life is vapid and empty, well, now you may be dealing with an addiction issue. And nearly all addiction issues deal with some sort of trauma. And I've noticed this in my own life that, look, I'm an alcoholic and I've dealt with that type of addiction. But when I look back on my past history, I realized I'd also been addicted to different things over time. And, I had a food addiction because I was really overweight and I like that sense of full, and I replaced that with another addiction. And until you deal with that root trauma issue, it's going to keep coming back, and your sugar addiction is going to manifest in another way. So take a look at 12-step programs. They're not religious. They're more spiritual because, frankly, I think addiction is a spiritual issue. There's issues that you have that need to be healed, and the only way to do that is to make peace with the past and to come to a place where you realize, powerlessness over a certain area of your life. And once you realize that, you come over to that way of thinking, then a group support suddenly starts working. And it's powerful. When you're in a 12-step group of like-minded people that are trying to overcome the same thing, at first you take a lot of strength from the group that other people have overcome it, and then you get to help other people, and that helps reinforce those behaviors. So 12-step programs I'm going to recommend for you if you find yourself still desiring sugar after you're over the cravings after 2 weeks. So it is a kind of a multi-step thing. If you're one of those people that just gets over the craving and you're done, great, we'll move on to the next step. Hopefully you'll be ready to start going on keto or carnivore diet, and you won't have to be dealing with that sugar addiction. But look, these sugar cravings, if you're thinking that somehow, I'm above sugar cravings, there's a guy that I'm working with. He is a type 2 diabetic. He's overweight. He's facing blindness and probably going to be losing a leg. And he is completely addicted. He'll go almost 2 weeks without, eating sugar, and then he'll crash and he'll give in, and he'll give into his carb addiction, and he spikes his blood sugar, and he's dumping in tons of insulin trying to control his diabetes again. And it's the same old cycle. And until he breaks his sugar addiction, he's stuck. It's that powerful of a driver. You will never be able to go keto and go to a low-carb lifestyle until you break the sugar addiction. So just embrace the suck. It's going to be horrible for 2 weeks. But after you're done with that, give yourself 2 weeks. What have you got to lose? Except maybe those cravings. This is Kirk, the Bariatric Carnivore. If you like this message, if you want to hear more like it, please hit the like, subscribe button, hit the notification bell. That'll let you know when we put up a new video. We try to put up a new one every single day. And, if you've overcome a sugar addiction, can you put a comment down below? Encourage somebody else that it can be overcome. That you don't have to change addictions, you don't have to change to those fat bombs, you don't have to be a slave to sweet tastes anymore, that you can overcome it. I've done it, I know, and it's freeing. Once you've overcome, when you no longer need that sweet, and you can take it or leave it, that's power. So I hope you get it. We'll talk to you tomorrow.